What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, former undisputed super middleweight world champion, one of the faces of the sport of boxing, Saul Canelo Alvarez. Saul Canelo Alvarez is now, once again, trying to justify ducking the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, undefeated two-time WBC super middleweight world champion, David Benavidez, who is 29 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout, 27 years of age, 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. Canelo Alvarez, 62 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 39 big wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 70-inch arm reach. Canelo Alvarez should just tell the world that he don't like the style matchup. Plain and simple. First, he says the only thing David Benavidez brings to the table. Now, keep this in mind. David Benavidez has been Canelo Alvarez, WBC, World Boxing Council President Mauricio Suleiman, and board of 32 members. He's been his mandatory challenger for going on 2.5 years. 2.5 years, right? So, Canelo refuses. He maneuvered strategically around David Benavidez. Strategically maneuvered around him. The moment David Benavidez lost his belt on the scale due to global pandemic and missing weight on the scale, the WBC nationally decided that they wasn't going to allow him to have wiggle room because there was nothing open. This was a global pandemic where gyms was closed, right? Nothing was open, right? But they didn't give him that leadway. They penalized him, stripped on the belt. Immediately, Canelo Alvarez saw this opportunity, swooped in. Now, keep in mind, David Benavidez has been viewed as the best super middleweight in the world since he beat Ronald Graville, and that was in 2017-18, right? He's been viewed as that. The biggest fight at 168 was David Benavidez versus who was seen to be the second best fight in the division, or the third, and Caleb Sweethand Plant. The unification bout, when Caleb Plant beat Jose Uzcategui, that was the fight to be made. So David Benavidez has always been viewed as the guy that took over 168 since the retirement and the departure of Olympic gold medalist, 2-division world champion, Hall of Fame iconic superstar boxer who's retired, Andre S.O.G. Ward. He took over the division. And so with that said, Canelo Alvarez understood and knew that he was the best fighter in the division. But once David Benavidez was stripped of his title, he swooped in, tried to petition, keep in mind, Avenue Durham, his former sparring partner, to fight for the vacant WBC title that Benavidez lost. He tried to fight him. That didn't work. Then he fought Caleb Smith for Caleb Smith's WBA title and the vacant WBC title. He beats Caleb Smith. Then he fights Avenue Durham in a title defense. Not David Benavidez, Avenue Durham. Then he fights, now Avenue Durham was his mandatory. He honored that mandatory and fought Avenue Durham, right? Then he fights Billy Joe Saunders for Billy Joe Saunders' WBO title. Then he fights Caleb Plant for the IBF title and becomes undisputed. Never fights David Benavidez, never gives him his opportunity. Continues to maneuver around. So David Benavidez wants this fight. He's pushing for the fight. And Canelo Alvarez is telling the world he has done nothing. He brings nothing to the table outside of extra 25 pounds, referring to his size. Right? Okay. So David Benavidez, what does he do? Now he beat Anthony Durrell. He beat Ronald Graville. He goes on, he beats Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, who Canelo Alvarez had been avoiding and ducking. He fights and beats Demetrius Andrade, Caleb Plant back-to-back. And now is going to fight the guy who everybody deems to be the boogeyman at 168 and now 175 in Cuban star title contender David Morrell Jr., who is doesn't have many fights, but he comes from a Cuban school of boxing, just like the Eastern European style, like the Ukrainian fighters, Lomachenko, Usyk. These guys don't have a lot of fights because they stay in the amateurs an extensive, long period of time, right? is the southpaw. He's big. David Morrell. David Benavidez is deciding to fight David Morrell for no reason. He has no reason to fight David Morrell. He's going to fight him. And should he beat him, that would be massive. That means he beat Alexander Gvozdyk, who only lost to Artur Beterbiev. That's the only loss he had, former world champion. He beat Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, Alexander Gvozdyk, back to back to back to back. And now he's going to fight David Morrell and beat David Morrell. And Canelo Alvarez is saying the David Morrell fight for David Benavidez doesn't garner him to fight him because David Morrell is not a good fighter and looked terrible in his last fight. What? So he beat Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, Alexander Gvozdyk, and now David Morrell, and that still doesn't garner, and he's your mandatory, that still is not enough to garner a fight? You are simply just ducking because you don't like the style matchup, and this is just apparent that he thinks David Benavidez will stop him. He don't like the matchup with him and David Benavidez. He don't think he can beat David Benavidez. He just admitted it. Now he's saying that if David Benavidez beats David Morrell, that David Morrell doesn't look good in his last fight, and David Morrell hasn't done anything either. But you just fought Edgar Berlanga, who never was a world champion, never even fought a former world champion, never fought for a title. You just fought Edgar Berlanga. But David Morrell, Alexander Gvozdyk, Demetrius Andrade, and Caleb Plant don't qualify should David Benavidez beat him, and he was a WBC champion who beat Ronnie Graville for it? Canelo Alvarez, you are simply a duck and a disgrace to the sport of boxing at this point in time. And it's erasing everything he's done in the past. These statements he should keep to himself. But y'all drop a comment in the comment section and let me know what y'all think about this. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like,